For NBA All-Star to be revived, and how they could revive it, they need to meet the players in the middle. There's no other way around it. They have to meet them in the middle, and I have a few ideas for that. Nationers, welcome back to another episode of The Realest Podcast. Episode 73 banner is right behind me. I hope that you guys are all having a lovely week, a lovely day. This is another episode that we are posting on Monday. Last week was the Super Bowl. This weekend happened to be NBA All-Star Weekend, and so I wanted to kind of talk about the general themes, what's gone on at NBA All-Star Weekend down in the Bay Area. So one thing, I don't know if it was in San Francisco or Oakland because they're kind of like adjacent to one another. So I wasn't too sure. I just know it's a general Bay Area. But nonetheless, I hope that you guys are having a good one. Thank you guys again so much for tuning into another episode. This one is going to be very isolated in the fact that there's not much that has happened this week. So, but there's one thing that's been reoccurring. Nationers, you guys may know about the Amazon package that I accidentally piled into one box, meaning that like whatever the longest thing would, how do I say this? The thing that would have taken the longest, they all need to wait until that time to be delivered. Basically meaning like you're only as fast as your slowest person type of thing. So all that to say is that I have an Amazon package potentially coming even live during this podcast episode, this recording. I've also had it like out for delivery. Like it was supposed to arrive yesterday. It ended up not arriving yesterday, which would have been Saturday. And I was kind of hoping, I was like, maybe it'll come. And it was actually earlier than expected. It was supposed to be from the February 6th to February 20th. And it just so happens that it was supposed to like come early. It was supposed to come on the 15th. I was like, oh yay. Like if I get it that morning, then I can kind of open it on the podcast either yesterday. If I was thinking I was going to record yesterday and realized I'm like, no, I don't really want to fracture the NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't want to wait a week to talk about it. So I ended up moving this podcast to Monday like I did previously. And then it never came. The package never came. So then it was out for delivery today. And it seemed like I got the notification that it was out for delivery today. And it was supposed to be arriving from like 6 to like 9:45, which is like extremely late. It's already pretty dark. I've seen packages delivered at that time. So maybe, just maybe it does get delivered. Nonetheless, nationers, I'm still with that ongoing fiasco with Amazon. It's not their fault. It is my fault, but I'm just kind of waiting. I've ordered this thing over a month ago, and I'm just kind of waiting because one item, I don't remember what item it was, but it was supposed to take like super long. And I clicked the button that says, oh yeah, just ship it in one box. They actually, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. They actually did change it. They're like, hey, would you like it to be the Amazon packaging, or would you like it to be the company packaging? Which, like, if it were a gift, you wouldn't want it coming into that packaging. Like, let's say you get like Hexclad or something, you wouldn't want it to come out in that box because just in case the birthday boy or girl opens the door and they see that and they're like, oh, that must be for me. I've had that happen during Christmas. Somebody, whoever the distributor of the delivery that is, they had, I got a Olympic barbell, 45-pound barbell, and no box, just straight barbell. And they're like, oh, here's this. I'm like, oh, thanks. So I was like, hey, I don't think I was supposed to see that because I know it wasn't for anyone else in the house. So I understand why, like maybe during Christmas time, you would want it to be in a individual or a cumulative box, one that's with Amazon on it, so you don't know who or what's inside. You know who it's for, but not what's inside. So all that to say, that's what's been going on. But there is something more at play, nationers, than just my Amazon fiasco. There is a fiasco within the NBA. Now, I know we've talked about earlier this season that maybe ratings are down. There seems to be a lack of engagement from viewership, or maybe there is and maybe there isn't. Whatever the diagnosis of that, it does seem, and a lot of people are led to believe that at least overall viewership is down. But to the significance, maybe not so much. A lot of people have found NBA games on third-party websites. NBA League Pass has a blackout if you're in a certain location. Like I can't watch any Trailblazer games. I can't watch any Utah games. And I think that's about it. And anyone that plays those two teams at home, I can't watch. So like Luka and the Lakers were playing in Utah. Couldn't watch a single second of it. So that's okay. But nonetheless, there's been a lot of different solutions that people have, or maybe not solutions, results as to why overall viewership is down. And again, to what significance, if it's 44%, if it's just like a few percents here and there, because the season has been going through a lot of transitions. It feels like there's a very transitional period within basketball. A lot of the same things kind of happen. The one thing about football, and obviously in general, a sport with less games, it makes each game matter more. And it just so happens that like in MLB, there's like 200 games. In hockey, there's like over 100 games. In even in basketball, 82 games is kind of a lot. I think, and this is just me, there's a lot of solutions overall in the NBA season that they can change. They can completely get rid of October. They can completely get rid of November, start Christmas Day or roughly around there. Maybe boost it down to 65-ish games. I think that would be very, very useful. And I know if people were to chase records, it would be kind of hard because you have less games, but it at least makes games overall more exciting. And I would understand with maybe the 15 lost games, the 17 lost games there, if it were 65 games that, yeah, a lot of people could still score a lot of points. Like, I mean, you times 15 times 30 points per game, that's a 450 points that you're losing every season if you were to average that. And, you know, if people want to go chase records, and I mean, it changes a lot of things overarching. But I think it makes the season overall more competitive. So I'm not here to talk about the general season of the NBA. I'm here to talk about NBA All-Star Weekend because there is an epidemic over the maybe last few years, ever since Kobe LeBryant died. Kobe LeBryant? Did I just say Kobe LeBryant? Kobe Bryant. Kobe LeBryant. That's rough. So I think ever since Kobe Bryant retired and wasn't an all-star anymore, and like Dirk Nowitzki was an all-star, there seems to be like a passing of the torch. It hasn't been as competitive over the past few years, and even since COVID, and a lot of people, especially during this break, they're like, hey, I don't want to get injured. And I think that's the looming edge. That's the looming elephant in the room. Nobody really wants to get injured because, and there's a few reasons why, and especially now, because of new things implemented for All-NBA, first team, just any accolade postseason or after the season, like an MVP. There is a 65-game minimum that you have to play to be eligible for awards in the NBA. And it just so happens that as a byproduct, and maybe not a, direct byproduct, but as a byproduct of this now new eligible game limit that you have to play, people don't want to get injured during NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't know of anyone that's gotten injured. I don't know, and God forbid, hopefully nobody does, because that can really put a wrench. Like if somebody gets injured, nobody's going to try. Like nobody. Like we know, and I've talked about this on the podcast about the Lazar Djukic death. And there was that happened. That was a breaking point within CrossFit's system from a medical staff, logistics standpoint, the amount of numbers, the protocols that they had. And it just so happens that that was a byproduct of an issue that has been ever growing. And as a byproduct of this eligibility and award, if somebody were to get injured, then nobody's going to try. And so we go through All-Star Weekend with a brand new format. It's going to be 4 teams, 1 rising star team who won from the tournament the day prior. And then also it's going to be 3 teams comprised of 8 NBA All-Stars. So 24 in total, 12 and 12. And then you just split that because it's 24 divided by 3 plus the 7 to 8 people from the Rising Star game. So that was a brand new format that they're going to bring in. We've seen a lot of outrage because of that they're changing it again. Just go back to East-West and add more competition to it, like add something to it. It just so happens that a lot of people maybe do or do not realize. I would say that don't realize, maybe are just blinded by like, oh, the East-West format works. It does, but the way that they've done it hasn't worked. And the reason is because the last time they went to East-West format, 211 points were scored versus 181. That is absurd. That is so many points. I could be wrong on this total points, of course, but 180 like 210. It's a blowout game. It's just a lot of people walking past half court, a few dunks here and there, and that's insane. That's the most points scored in any NBA caliber game ever. Accumulative, that is, and also all time. So their solution, the NBA came up with a tournament style where, hey, depending on what your place is and depending on where you are, like you would want to try, because you don't want your NBA All-Star game appearance to be like 6 minutes, 10 minutes, if that, even if you get game time, which most people really didn't. That was kind of the thing, depending on what team you were on. I know for the international Chuck's global team, like Alperen Şengün got 2 minutes of game time. I watched Pascal Siakam warm the bench the entire time. And there is a downside to that, because maybe by putting somebody in who isn't as good, I mean, they're all great, but definitely there is a fine line between all-star starter versus bench warmer all-star. And it just so happens that with this tournament, there's a few things that could have happened and did happen. I'm going to get it to that in a bit, but I want to plant the seed that a lot of people have been talking about, can we fix the NBA All-Star Weekend from all the skills challenges to Sunday night All-Star Game? The answer is no. We cannot fix it. And I'm about to go through maybe the causation to that, the reason for it being the way that it is. But then also maybe some suggestions to just kind of make it more of a fun weekend, because a lot of people already kind of treat it as such. So why are we trying to force them to do something that they don't want to do? Instead, let's meet them with where they're at and make it an overall fun weekend for all the All-Stars. Now, don't get me wrong. The All-Star game used to be super competitive. Used to. I think a lot of people now, like I mentioned with the CBA, if you were to make an All-NBA team, you can get more money because of that if you were to stay on the team, all that good stuff, the eligibility awards. They've slimmed you down, and now they're trying to fit you into a pair of jeans. So let's just go through the weekend. So they had the Rising Star game, same tournament. They actually had a G League team and then 3 Rising Star teams, which I thought was really fun. I think that was a more level playing field. A lot of games were really close. And overall, really, really awesome, pairing. It was kind of like the first wave, the iteration of this tournament. How would it pan out? Obviously, if you were to play the first 2 games or the first 2 pairings, and whoever won that one obviously advances. So they actually get more time, because then you have game 1, game 2, and then you're both right into the championship game. So the team that played second, or in the game 2, that is, whoever won that one goes right into the championship, so they don't get any rest. So they're playing an accumulative volume a lot quicker. So that's one major downside. They tried fixing that this year, but then I think they just took too much time. But then obviously they have more than just that. That was actually Friday night. Saturday, that's how the weekend goes. Saturday night, they had the Skills Challenge 3-point and Slam Dunk contest. Now, these are the typical things that they have throughout the NBA All-Star Weekend. And the Skills Challenge usually comprises of 4 teams. They'll usually have just kind of a fun team. They'll have a fun pairing. They usually have a home team. This one happened to be in Golden State, in the Bay Area. So they happen to have the Golden State Warriors there. They had Cleveland. They had the Spurs. Then they also had the rookie team. I think it's just they're reaching out like, hey, we love you to pair up. That happened to be pretty fun, except Chris Paul and Wembanyama were both scheme in a little bit. They happened to go first and then they didn't try their hardest, if that makes sense. They didn't try their hardest. They definitely tried to game the system, which I don't blame them. It is kind of fun, but it does take away from the legitimacy of it. And I think there's a few solutions around that. I think the skill challenge overall is pretty fun. I think they could make it a little bit more complex. I think they're hoping for it to be just like super fast, but everyone's usually generally pretty good. So, yeah, I guess the margin for error, like if you were to fail, which happened to be in the finals, where Draymond Green could not make a chest pass and, ended up losing the entire thing just by that. After that, they had the 3-point contest. I do like this in general, where you can kind of decide whether you go left to right or right to left. You could also decide where your money ball rack is, like where you feel like you're going to shoot the best. Also, the starry points is also super cool. We seen Buddy Hield tie Steph Curry's 31-point from even last year, and they didn't have any surprise event with that. There were a lot of talks about that. Caitlin Clark had not denounced, but she declined an invite. She wants her first 3-point competition to be at WNBA All-Star, which I think is very fair, and kudos out to her. And then also, it just so happens that they didn't have a Sabrina versus Steph again. I don't think they need one again. I can understand why they would do it again, but I don't think they need to. I think they need to kind of go through a few iterations of that. I would like to see maybe a NBA, WNBA player versus a WNBA, NBA player, just the same pairing. I think that would be pretty cool. Or, this is just me, I would do like pairs. That would be super cool. Imagine you like team up with like another person and you shoot that way. Just to kind of give the 3-point competition a little bit more flair, because it is kind of just the same thing over and over, just different person. Like Cam Johnson stunk. Tyler Hero barely made it out of the original format, the first round, and then also won it. So go Miami Heat, go Tyler Hero. I told my dad, I was like, either he's going to do really good or like absolutely stink, and he happened to be really good. So, and then Buddy Hield also, I was like, either he's going to do really good or absolutely stink, and he really stunk the first rack, almost made every ball in the second rack, or on his final rack, pardon me. And then it was super close. Like he needed to make every ball off his last rack, but he couldn't. So ended up being Tyler Hero's win for that. Slam dunk contest. This one's it has been rough. It's been rough over the past few years. I thought it couldn't get much worse than last year. It definitely was worse than last year. I was really looking forward to Matus Buzelli, Andre Jackson. The thing is being good at dunking in-game is a lot different than being good at a freestyle dunk. And I know there's a lot of lineage. There's a lot of dunks that, just generally are going to be reiterated. It's just more or less, can you pull it off? It's kind of just like snowboarding or skiing or skateboarding, things of that nature. Like, so many people could do the same trick. It's just how smooth can you get it? Like, how do you make it so evolved in a way? Like, there is kind of a ceiling to some of the dunks, but Matt McClung continues to, he continues to put on a show. He dunked over a car for the first round. The first dunk, he dunked over a car. Second round, he plays really safe because he only needed to make a dunk. So he does, just kind of, I think, over his friend and then a reverse and then in. And then he adds Evan Mobley into his final round and boom, hits it off the rim and in. And that was insane. And I mean, there's not much more that he needed to do. He also did like a double dunk in the third round, which I thought was really, really cool. Paid homage to Aaron Gordon's hoverboard dunk that he did in 2016. So overall, really good. Mac McClung has officially owned the slam dunk contest. He's the first person to three-peat in it. Nate Robinson, I think somebody else had also won it twice prior to Saturday's events. So Mac McClung won it. Super cool. If you guys see those clips, like they're insane, even from 3 years ago. I guess technically 2 years ago. Super cool. Last year's was super cool. And he's only gotten better. He's only ascended. Whereas last year, Jaylen Brown was trying to pay homage to like a former Celtic covering his eyes, but he did it way too late. So it just looks really dumb. And he also jumped over Kai Cenat, which he's like 5'4" on a good day. So, and he was also sitting, not standing. He was sitting. So there wasn't much there. I can understand people not getting hurt there, but I feel like most times you're probably not going to get hurt dunking. Most people dunk in game. Maybe freestyle's a little different. So, yeah, overall, I think there's a few different things. We definitely need to see a little bit more of the NBA All-Stars in there, like really good dunkers. I know Ja kind of mentioned Ja Morant. Giannis also kind of mentioned like he would kind of do something for it. But yeah, Andre Jackson couldn't palm a ball. Stephon Castle actually did show up. I'm glad he did well. Montez Buzelis couldn't get a single dunk off. So it just happened to be like a really flat performance from the two people that couldn't actually hold on to a ball to dunk to save their life. Cool ideas. It just didn't pan out. So then Saturday night, we head into All-Star tournament with the All-Star game. It's a new format, like I mentioned, where you're going to have 3 teams of 8. They happen to have kind of the young guys, the up-and-comers. They also have the international team. Then they also have the OGs, the people that are like 35, 36 years old and still playing at a high-caliber level. And here's what I thought was fun. I thought the defense was, and that's usually the issue. The defense is usually the issue in regards to this, but I'm really happy that the defense was not as paramount of an issue. It was just the overall format. I think the games just need to be ever so slightly longer. There's a 40-point total in all of the games, and it just so happens that like things kind of start heating up once we get to 40 points, and the game's over by then. And 40 points comes in really quick, and especially in a format where people are just going to be scoring like heck, or at a high volume, also a high success rate, high efficiency. So 40 points comes in real quick. I would love if somebody had like a stat out there, like how quick it's got to 40 points in an all-star game, like in the normal 5v5 format. This one just happened to be tournament style. So if you want to advance, you have to win those first rounds. And there was a lot of defense played in that. A lot of people were going to point to the final game, and for good reason, that there wasn't much defense because you're already there. There was a lot of defense in the first like 11-1 score. But it just so happens that by then, I think both teams, and especially the team that's down, realize that they're probably not going to win. So they just don't play defense in general. And there's a lot of just tossing the ball to the front court. And that's about it. So the final wasn't as great. I still feel like a lot of people wouldn't have tried because, I mean, the money difference isn't that much. Most of them don't really need it compared to the contracts that they have, but it is nice. I'm sure they want to give it to charity or some portion of that. So all that to say, maybe they make some type of money pool, price pool, depending on your place base for charity. I think that'd be kind of funny. I think the hard part is that people are going to look at somebody who doesn't play defense like, oh, you don't care about the Make-A-Wish kids. You don't care about St. Jude's. You don't care about Shriners. You don't care about the kids with bone disease. I think that's going to be a byproduct, just people clowning people because they don't want to play defense, especially if it were for charity. But it would be kind of funny. I do think the point total needs to raise up, maybe to 50. 60 is a little far because the games would kind of take too long. But also, there were so many commercials. I understand it's TNT's last like all-star coverage. But the point there is that they, how do I say this slightly? There were so many gosh dang commercials. There were so many. Between the 11-1 run that in the finals, they had like a 30-minute break in between there just to highlight the TNT crew, and it was nice. It was awesome. Maybe they could have done that during commercial and, showed it, or maybe they could have had somebody other than Kevin Hart tell us about it. Like, he's funny and all, but we got to speed things up because even then they took forever. In between games, there was just a lot happening. I understand people need their rest. They probably don't anyways, but it just took forever in between each game. It was nice because I got to go up, but in between, not even in between the games, they have a commercial break at 15. Whoever scores 15, they also have a commercial break at 30 points, not 30 seconds. So 15 and 30, and then the final 10, it is what it is. But the thing is, those commercials take for freaking ever. And they had a Mr. Beast challenge in there. That was pretty fun. Mr. Beast and Jimmy, and he's not really good at like live TV. You could tell it was just kind of chaotic. Like it's not his normal gig, like pointing to mic and how to commentate and things of that nature. I think the camera angles were pretty garbage in general, just because there's a lot of people like right there in the way. So the camera person, whoever was operating it had to kind of adjust a lot. Somebody's head would get in the way and they want to get the shot, especially for like social media if they were to make it. And they were like, come on, we got to wrap it up because they took so long. It was supposed to be like 5.5 minutes, took like 6.5 minutes. They were like, come on, we got to go. Damian Lillard made two, need to make the final one. He didn't. And then they're like, we got to go to commercial. They hit the buzzer and like, and then the guy shoots it one more time and then banks it and then they celebrate and whatnot. They keep it going. So that was pretty fun. $100,000 to that person. I will say the amount of commercials I watch more commercials than I watched a game of basketball. You know what? I'm going to say this. I know I mentioned that there's not really a fix to NBA All-Star Weekend, at least from the All-Star game standpoint. I think there's a lot of other things that you could fix on Saturday's games. But the thing is that nobody's going to care. They don't want to play defense. They don't want to get hurt. Let them just see how much points they can score anyways. You might as well. Personally, I would prefer that. Like, I love that they run up the score. I love to see if they can make these half-court shots. I love to see maybe just like a little quick iso ball, like play one-on-one, and then boom. I love that. There's a lot of pros, a lot of cons, a little bit more defense played this year, which is always great. But once we get to the finals, I can understand why people wouldn't care as much. They're just going to run up the score on whoever hits 40 and whoever makes the most shots typically will win. Obviously, there's 2s and 3s, so not necessarily. But all that to say, there's a way that I think they could make it better. I think that for NBA All-Star to be revived, and how they could revive it, they need to meet the players in the middle. There's no other way around it. They have to meet them in the middle. And I have a few ideas for that. So, the suggestions here that I have, a lot of people mentioned a 1v1 tournament. A lot of people kind of look to the Unrivaled. That was really cool. That was really awesome. Like, they had Aaliyah Edwards, who actually made it from the finals as an 8 seed. That was really cool. Nafisa Collier ended up winning. That one was also a best of 3. So you play one game, you win one, but you also need to win another and then another, which ended up happening. So Aaliyah won, and then Nafisa won the last 2 and 3. So 1v1 tournament was kind of cool. The hard part is you're going to be playing up against like Victor Wembanyama, which like could work, but all he's going to do is just kind of sit there and then like not jab at anything and then just block your shot. So I think that they could like maybe height bracket him. That would be kind of cool because you have, I guess generally, you know, you have your power forwards and centers. You go 1v1 there. I think a lot of people would generally turn an ankle and that would be kind of rough. It would be kind of cool though. I think the better solution is to have a 3-on-3 tournament. And I'm not taking this from Unrivaled, but there was a reason why 3-on-3 is working so well, even if like the numbers aren't there. It's just a really quick pace, half-court style. You can do that super easily. A lot of people maybe haven't played the 3-on-3 FIBA, but it would be kind of easy to latch onto like that. You already have 24 people, so you just need 8 teams. You do a bracket. You do 4 teams on each side. Two go through, and then whoever wins that goes to the final, and that would be kind of cool. You take like a point guard, shooting guard, and whatnot. So I think that that'd be kind of fun. I don't know how it would work logistically because I think it would take a few iterations to kind of get, but I think it would be really cool if they added that. Just because like the 5v5 is kind of fun. And again, I have no issue with the West versus East, and I have a solution for it. It's going to be my last one. And I think there's an element to it that I think will get people to actually try, and it's not charity. So 1v1 tournament, pretty cool. I think it would be really good for fans. A 3-on-3 tournament would be kind of cool. Maybe you could even do full court in that instance too. I mean, you get somebody on a fast breakaway and they're going to score. You maybe play to 21 or to 11, maybe just to make the games go super quick. And then people would have to play defense. Another thing, maybe for the Saturday, I think it would be really cool if they, maybe not even the All-Stars, but maybe just some people that are really techie, like Luka or even like Trae Young that can make like a crazy shot. I think it would be fun to have a horse tournament. It's maybe not super exciting, but you could play like Pig, something super easy, and you could just go through like a small little game of that. That's not too hard. You have people mic'd up. You have people commentating. They'll be kind of fun. They've done it in the past. Apparently my dad's told me that. I haven't seen any footage of it from what I recollect, so I think it would be kind of fun to bring back. Another thing that I would love is a longest shot contest. Now, the reason I say this is because I think that you could do just like a longest shot contest. So you have 20 minutes to try like a super long shot. Like it's just going to be 20 minutes straight, maybe with people mic'd up, obviously people commentating, of course, like Brian Anderson or people from TNT, which obviously it won't be on there anymore, but it would be kind of fun. The idea behind that is you basically have 20 minutes. You just kind of keep working your way back until somebody hits it. And then if somebody hits it, you lay out a piece of tape, and then you have to shoot behind that. You know what I mean? I think that that'd be kind of cool, and you just kind of keep going back, or you make it like 10 minutes so you have to just go by super quick. People would make half-court shots. People would just kind of keep working their way back, and I think that it'd be just kind of fun because those are generally something people do just for a challenge after practice at the end of practice. So I think a longest shot contest with like a 10-minute time cap would be kind of cool, maybe even 15 minutes. Other than that, I think a lightning, yeah, I mean, we've all played lightning in middle school, maybe even elementary, most likely elementary school. But lightning would be pretty cool, especially if you played basketball. You know how intense lightning gets and how competitive it can be. So I think lightning would be pretty fun. I also think there should be a little section for like a Legends game. I know NFL does this, especially with their Hall of Fame game. I would love if they just had like a Legends game. Like it doesn't have to be pretty serious, but it would be just kind of fun to see some of the legends, some of the people that are willing to and maybe able to. I know there's a rich history, so a lot of people are old. But I think a Legends game would be kind of fun. You could get just some former players, you know, five years removed. You could get Dirk Nowitzki, who's not too far removed. Kevin Garnett, you know, get like the old time. They try and shoot. That would be like a really fun, like no defense game, up to like 30 or something. Next up, I have, this came from Reddit. Some of these came from Reddit. This one is a fan all-star versus fan all-star. So it's a 2v2. You have a fan almost going 1v1 against another fan, and then you have an all-star going up against another all-star. And I think it would be kind of fun. I don't think it would actually work out for a TV standpoint because, you know, it wouldn't. It would be kind of fun seeing like a fan 1v1. Like maybe even, this is just me. I understand there's a lot of advertisements. We've talked about the Super Bowl. I made a whole video on it, but there's a point in time where, and especially with this All-Star weekend, that it's just become entertainment. It's just become a big advertising ploy. There's just so much advertisement everywhere. There's so many commercials coming in. I think if you were to do a fan 1v1, like let's say they call a timeout, they're like, okay, these two people are going to go 1v1 on an NBA court, and it's going to be like the first to 7 points or something just during that timeout. And so people can get their water, they can take their break. Maybe you incorporate a little ad integration right beforehand or just something of that nature. That would be kind of cool. Somebody mentioned, this was in the Chaos All-Star Weekend suggestions. This one was a 5v5 with hockey subs. So you just constantly go. I mean, you could still sub out and sub in on a dead ball, but on the fly. You got Steph Curry there. You know, he doesn't want to play defense, so you sub him out for somebody that is really good, like SGA. And then, like, when they're going the other way, SGA gets off the court, and then Steph Curry comes in. I don't know. That's just kind of chaotic. I would love a skill shooting competition. I think it would be really cool to play, like, around the world or something like that. Like, how fast can you make a shot from each point? I know... And this is kind of combining the skills challenge with the 3-point competition. I think it would be kind of cool if you do like a layup, elbow, free throw, both corners, wings, and then top of the key. And you can go in any order that you want. And I think that would be kind of fun just overall for the, just kind of like a skills competition. You don't really have to do any bounce passes. You just, how fast can you do it? Opens up just a little bit more shooting in there. And obviously some skill as well. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some obstacles in your way. Just, I don't know. There's got to be something that could be of essence in the skill necessarily. But I think just like a shooting competition would be kind of fun. Or you could do like King of the Hill. You could do like somebody shooting threes and basically do like hockey shootout or something like that. Kind of like lightning, but for a 3-point competition. I think that would be really, really fun. So here's my next thought. West versus East, winner gets home court advantage in the finals because you have to make the game worth it. And like I said, I'm one for run up the score. I do not care how serious they take it. I am a of all essence. Like, I'm throwing all my money, all my chips into that. But if you want to make it a little bit more exciting, maybe just to add the element of defense, just ever so slightly, like you would at least contest a shot, that you have whoever wins it, East versus West, gets home court advantage. Now, I understand that there's some downside to that because the West is usually a lot better than the East. We just know that from a standpoint in the records. But I'm willing to say, and this is just my thought, that there are some underdogs. And sometimes underdogs still do just as well, if not better, than the team that they were predicted to lose to. So, even if the East is a lot worse than the West, I'm still up for that. It at least gives, like, let's say Luka and the Dallas Mavericks last season. Like, let's say the West won and they got home court advantage. Maybe that could be the game changer. Like, you wouldn't expect them to make it to the finals, but it's nice that they did, and they also get an advantage because they also tried, and they had Luka and Kyrie in the All-Star game. And obviously other teams help that, but they also help it for their benefit. And they obviously help it for their side. So my thought process, and another aspect some people have mentioned, is giving the the team East versus West, whoever wins, and then obviously wins, the final, let's say this, like the Boston Celtics is last year. Obviously, they already got home field or home court advantage because they had the better record than the Dallas Mavericks, but my thought process is giving them just like a little lottery. Giving them just a smidge of a lottery pick. They don't have to get a lottery pick, but they could at least get one. And there's a lot of parity in the NBA, maybe not as much as other sports, but we've had a different champion every single year. So, like, to say that, like, somebody's going to build a dynasty because now you're bettering the best team, the Denver Nuggets won. The Boston Celtics won. The Golden State Warriors won. There's a lot of different teams that are winning year after year. The Lakers, the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a lot of different teams year after year, and a lot of these teams are going through waves and troughs. Some all make it all the way up, and some make it out of the first, second round, conference championships. So there's a few ideas there. I'm not entirely sold on any of them. I think Horse would be fun. I think a longest shot contest would be fun. Legends game would be nice to see, especially bringing in some of the older crowd, get them, the newer crowd, to kind of know who they are. And yeah, maybe just like a shooting competition would be kind of fun to add into. The dunk contest definitely needs some better people overall. And yeah, 3-point still great. Skills challenge, regardless of any type of rigging or any type of cheating or disqualifications in regards to that, I think that's still really fun nonetheless. It's been better than in past years, but I still think the WNBA skills challenge is better than the men's. That's just what I'm going to say. Let me know your comments and thoughts down below on what you thought of MZA All-Star Weekend. If you guys did tune in, let me know if you have a suggestion or if you liked any of my suggestions, also coming from Reddit as well, down in the comment section below. Thank you guys again so much for watching episode 73 of The Realest Podcast. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. 07 and peace. Peace!